Tonight, barely 2 years into President John Mahama's final term, a secession fight is spilling out of the backrooms into public view, with National Chairman Asiedu Nketia and Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu trading veiled jabs as rival power blocs from within the governing party.
We have to change the forward line of parliament. President Mahama disagreed with me, but I said that, look, I say, my brother Haruna, it's somewhere.
Not the other thank you tour. The proper thank you tour of President Mahama. Proper thank you tour of President Mahama.
It comes just 2 weeks after the Secretary to the President warned that early jostling for 2028 could destabilize both government and party. Tonight on Top Story, we're asking, is the NDC's post-election unity unsettling, and who really controls the NDC now, the chairman or the president? Top Story is brought to us by Telecell, connecting energies, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil Enjoy, Holy Sleep, and also by Shield Pension, Trust into the Future with you. I am Samuel Kojo Brace. Now, to thank you to us, one party. On one stage is the President, John Mahama. On another is Chairman Asiedu Nketia. Now, the early battle over who leads the NDC after President John Dramani Mahama is beginning to spill into the open, with tensions rising between National Chairman Asiedu Nketia and Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu. The party's secession plan are no longer quiet. On Friday, Asiedu Nketia admitted he forced through the 2024 parliamentary leadership overhaul over President Mahama's objections, including Haruna Iddrisu's removal as minority leader. Then, listen.
Then new things were emerging, and I said that we have to change the forward line of parliament. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to win elections. President Mahama disagreed with me, but I said that, look, you have elected me as chairman of this party. I am the coach of the party going into the election. So let me make the changes that will win us the election. When we win, we all enjoy together. Since I made that change, I say, my brother Haruna, sit somewhere. The other guy, Muntaka, you also sit somewhere. Let people come, new people come, and you sit on the bench and watch. There was hell. And people started thinking that somebody who has been my friend for more than 20 years has certainly become my enemy. I said, how can Haruna become my enemy? He cannot become my enemy.
Well, that particular statement has been received with some more responses. One of such people is the Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu, who has since hit back, speaking on the President's tour, calling Chairman Asiedu Nketia's tour a skirting razor. Listen to him.
During legacy was to have this Boale College of Education established in this area. And I recall when President came for his thank you tour, not the other thank you tour, the proper thank you tour of President Mahama. Proper thank you tour of President Mahama as President Flag Bearer. What cannot be said, Mr. President, we can say it. A proper thank you of President Mahama, not the curtain raiser one. Not the curtain raiser one. When President Mahama came for his thank you, he assured the people of Tinga, thanks to your MP, that they will get a dedicated STEM school. We will be there shortly. That school, when you start from kindergarten, you will see your end at senior high school in the same building. It is now my honor and privilege to introduce to you your own son, President of the Republic, who keeps his word.
Well, so this is how it is unfolding. Some watchers have declared this as quite a blistering response from the education minister. Now, even though no one has officially declared a bid, research agency Global Info Analytics has repeatedly listed these two among top names likely to succeed President John Mahama. Just 2 weeks ago, Secretary to the President, Callistus Mahama, cautioned that early succession politics could destabilize both government and party structures. My colleague Michael Ashley joins me in studio with details of that particular warning. Michael, what exactly did he say?
So at the time, and I'll quote portions of what he had written, he said the timing of some of these internal wranglings were deeply concerning, describing it as a quiet danger that creeps into political life, not with noise but with whispers. According to him, that moment appears to be approaching far too early, especially when the administration is barely a year and a half into its mandate. He warns that, quote, attention can drift, unquote, from government to succession, stressing that, again, quote, to turn even partially from that task toward personal political calculations is not just premature, it is a quiet form of neglect to the government in itself. Now, he points out that the internal democratic journey in itself is incomplete, noting that even basic structures like the branch level elections have not yet been conducted. He says the foundation has not yet been settled, yet thoughts are already drifting to the summit, warning that this rush could undermine the legitimacy of future leadership. Now, he writes more. He says that the pursuit of personal ambition creates a quiet erosion of performance, discipline, and trust, and insists that public officials must prioritize governance. He adds that those who cannot subordinate ambition to duty risk doing injustice to both, and where necessary, quote, there is honor in stepping aside, unquote. So ultimately, he's saying that this is not a time for leadership contest, stressing that the focus now must be on delivery and not succession. This was 2 weeks ago, just before we are hearing some of these comments from the national chairman, and also some sort of response to it from Haruna, Iddrisu, education minister.
And these two people have a role to play, have roles to play in the government. The chairman is a board chair of one institution, with Haruna being a minister.
Yes. So in appointments, these two individuals have been appointed by the John Mahama-led government. But again, this is the national chairman, and also you have an educational minister. In the constitution of the NDC, it is written clearly that when in government, the president is supposed to be the leader of the party, right? Except in opposition, when you heard Haruna himself mention that in opposition, the party chairman, even when you have a flag bearer, is the to use his word, the coach of the party, and he decides.
How do you react to what is happening in the governing NDC?
Good evening, Kojo. Can you hear me?
Clearly, yes.
Yes, thank you. So, it started off those, as you follow the news and you heard what the party's chairman, Mr. Asiedu Nketia, said, and then the response of the Honorable Haruna. Initially, you're thinking, okay, chairman has said something in a subtle response. Honorable Haruna says something in return, but you don't want symptomatic of something bigger, right? As it is being framed now as some rising tensions within the party as they look forward to who succeeds President John Mahama. For me, whatever the underlying issues are, or whatever the underlying motives are, whoever is involved or whichever persons are involved in this would want to take a few steps back and think the party first and think the government first. Because as Dr. Callistus Mahama rightly put it, the time to have the succession conversation will come. The time to have, quote unquote, that internal battle over who gets to succeed President John Mahama, that time would come. But that time is not now. And even when that time comes, ultimately, the question that is going to be settled by voters is not who gets to succeed President John Mahama or not, but what they have done with the mandate and whether they have kept faith with the people. I think that was a very brilliant piece and very sound advice, even as different individuals may have their own intentions, ambitions of, I'm thinking 2028.
But in an organization of differing ambitions, I mean, can that organization detect how and when people will behave?
I mean, the organization can, or even the leader. So if you think back to former President Kufuor, because I recall interviewing him and asking him about post 2008. And if you recall, one of the things that he urged in the party as they were getting close to 2008 was that, well, if you are still in my government, but you have political ambitions, feel free to step aside so those of us, so we can focus on governing. And then those of you with political ambitions of wanting to succeed can look towards that succession and engage in activities around that succession. So you're right that the organization, and in this case, the political party or the leadership of the political party would have to, come up with certain, I don't want to call them rules, right? But certain guidelines, certain things that can shape and guide behavior that says, look, we are still in the phase of governing. We are barely into year 2 of the administration. And so we ought to be a little circumspect in balancing our obligations to govern, which is why we were elected, versus our own ambitions as you look beyond, I have to govern now versus I would like to be the next person in line when President John Mahama has served out his term. And the leadership of the party has to find a way to communicate that message and find a balance. I mean, of course, some of the speculation also involves, in terms of who wants to be next, also involves people who are in party leadership and would have to come up with those kinds of rules. So that makes it a little tricky. But for me, overall, you want to find that balance between your ambition and also ensuring that you are governing. Because if you don't govern it well, what would then become of that ambition?
And when you see clear battle lines drawing with the party chairman on one end, the president will likely be on another because of what's happening. Is it worrying what we're seeing emerge within the NDC?
If it continues down this path, if the tensions continue to rise, if there is an internal battle that is going to spill over and start playing out publicly, where different personalities would have to take sides, then yes, it is a worrying development, especially when you are also the incumbent party that is governing. And I say that because if you are not careful, it can become a distraction from the everyday things that you're trying to do to govern. And I'll give you a quick example. There's a new decentralization policy, right, that I believe can strengthen our local government structures and move the efforts that we are making in the area of local government forward a lot more. But over the last 48 hours, how much of that has gained any traction in public spaces and in public conversations? I mean, yesterday on the probe, Joy had a good discussion. I was part of that on it. But my point is that when these internal battles take center stage and spill over publicly, then the real issues of governance and efforts being made to address all of our different governance challenges, move the country's development needle forward, gets lost. And at the end of the day, citizens are not going to reward you on how well you fought for your own political ambitions. At the end of the day, it is the governance outcomes that is going to determine whether the Ghanaian voter decides to retain your party in power or not, which is essentially the point that Dr. Callistus Mahama was trying to make, which is let's focus now, and the time to decide who gets to be next in line will come. And when that time comes, we can have, quote unquote, that fight.
But what's the potency of what's happening on, or its potential, on destabilizing the government such that it will sway them off the tangent they are on?
I don't think it would destabilize the government, but I think it would, you don't want the distraction, right? So, for example, you would want the Honorable Haruna to focus on delivering the president's agenda in the education sector. You don't want some of these internal contests or internal battles over who is next in line to distract him from being able to pursue the president's agenda in education. So it is not what would bring the government down, but if it intensifies, it can be distracting enough that it can slow down whatever agenda the president is trying to pursue in all of the key sectors. And ultimately, that won't be good if the party wants to retain power in 2028. Again, that for me should be the guiding framework for all of the actors involved, right? How do you balance your ambition with ensuring that you don't get distracted and that you can focus on the business of government? Because ultimately, again, as I keep saying, your reward is not going to be how well you fought each other over your political ambition to be the next successor. It is going to be how well you delivered in terms of the governance outcomes. And that, for me, is what Ghanaians are going to look at come 2028.
Stay with me. Let me bring in Miracles. Dennis Miracles Abuaji, who is Director of Communications for the Baumia campaign team. Dennis, I'm grateful to you for joining. Dennis, do I have you with me? Hello, Dennis?
Yes, I'm on the line.
Great. Now, I mean, you are a beneficiary of an underperformance of this government. From what is happening in the NDC, where battle lines are already drawing, with Dr. Callistus Mahama warning of its implications on the government. What do you make of what's happening in the NDC?
Well, I mean, I've said it countless times that the NDC are basically going through what every political party goes through, not just in Ghana, but in any multi-party democracy. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Kojo?
Clearly, I can.
Yeah, but in any multi-party democracy, the problem with the NDC, or what the challenge the NDC is facing now, is that they've been living in a particular bubble for a very long time. They've been living in a self-denial for a very long time. Because if you look at the NDC architecture and history, you realize that they really have not seen such intensive internal democracy before. I mean, President Rawlings came in de facto 1992. By the time he was living in 2000, he went to do the Asiedu Declaration and basically planted Professor Mills on the party. Professor Mills was the leader throughout, so he became president in 2008. And then by 2012, unfortunately, he passed. He passed at a time where we had just about 6 months or so to elections. So the vice president, then John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency, automatically succeeded him. And then eventually, John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency, has been the leader of the party all the way till now. Indeed, you remember that throughout the process, the NDC had to go through a lot of friction and fracture. But it wasn't difficult for them to manage because they had a clear leader. You remember the Fonka Games? Yes. The Fonka Games, which led to the co-founder of the NDC, the founder's wife, Nana Kweda Rawlings, actually setting up her own party, breaking away and setting up her own party. Those things didn't really affect the NDC because at that time, they had a clear leader in the person of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Today, the situation is different. In the next 6 months, nobody in the NDC really would care about what His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is saying or thinks. Because, like it happens in every democracy, the president that is exiting and will not come for another term is going to be a lame duck. It is just what political science has taught everybody, and that is not going to be different from what with the NDC. What I think they have to do is to embrace their reality, admit their current situation, and begin to open up and allow these things to span out in a way that would naturally get away. But other than that, Kojo, trust me, they are going to see the fiercest internal contest they have seen. Already you've heard them throw shots at each other across the, and it hasn't even started yet. It has not even started yet. So I don't wish them well, because the NDC clearly have become a menace for this country. So I really don't wish them well. But they should brace up. They should brace up for what democracy truly is.
So I mean, do you see what's happening bolstering your chances of returning to power?
I mean, our chances is largely dependent on the vision and the ideas that Mahmoud Bawumia will be proposing to the people of this country. It is not dependent on the fortunes or otherwise of the NDC. And so whatever happens to the NDC is purely their business, and it's purely a determinant of their future. For the MPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is going to articulate to the mason, to the mechanic, to the teacher, to the nurse, to the businessman, to the market woman, to the student, to the unemployed youth, to the woman, to the man, to the little child, what he believes each of these people deserve as Ghanaians going into the future. And he's going to take his time, articulate, and explain each of his policies, which are going to change the lives of these people post-2028. And that is what is going to leapfrog Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia into victory 2028. It has nothing to do with the fortunes of the NDC. We have our fate in our own hands, and we are taking it up aggressively.
I'm grateful to you. Dennis Miracles Abuaje is Director of Communications of the Bawumia campaign team. Doc, do I still have you?
Yes, please.
Great. Now, should the party set clearer rules for secession discussions in order to avoid destabilizing the government in this first term? And I've heard some party, stalwarts say that there's a disconnect between the party and government. Do you see that playing out now? You add these two questions for me, then we can wrap up.
Good. Well, I mean, ultimately, right, there would have to be some rules of behavior, right, that guide what happens, what doesn't happen between now and whenever the party decides who is going to lead the party into the 2028 election. The time for that internal battle would come, and they can slug it out. I have always said I'm really not a big fan of internal party primaries, because these parties fight so intensely. Sometimes I say to myself, have you forgotten who, quote unquote, the real enemy is, which is your political rivals? But having said all of that, I just hope that the party keeps in mind what is at stake. And as I keep saying, it is, again, how you walk that fine balance between the rules of conduct, the rules of behavior. How do we conduct ourselves in such a way that you can still govern, you can still keep your party together, and you can still ultimately have your internal contest that picks a successor to President John Dramani Mahama. The thing you want to avoid is, or at least the thing you want to keep in mind, Kojo, is that ultimately, whoever emerges victorious, I'm not saying it's inconsequential. It does have some consequences for 2028. But what the average Ghanaian voter is looking at is not who came up with the best strategy to beat out all of the competition in the internal struggle for succession. And so you don't want to sort of lose track of the important governance things as well. And again, at the end of the day, everybody gets to decide which is more important, whether it's their ambition or whether it's the party or the party's record in office.
I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Dr. John Osai Kwapong is Director of the Democracy Project, CDD. This was brought to you by Telecel, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil, and the Shield Pension Trust. My name is Samuel Kojo. Brace up Nurses News Night right after these.
There are many reasons to connect, and it's all to put smiles on the faces of those you love.
Daddy, thanks for the tea cash, okay? I love you.
That's my daughter, Angela. Caring for my parents, that's my duty. I also get to pay my utility bills easily with Telecel Cash. And to the suppliers at my shop,
hello, sir. Telecel Cash payment received right on time. Thank you.
I get to make them smile because I can pay to my suppliers' merchant numbers, even on other networks directly. My dear ones.
We keep the connection stronger when our family, friends, and business relations are happy. Live on cash, enjoy convenience, and make those who matter smile when you send them money with Telecel Cash.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me dana with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Dana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
Hello and welcome to News Night. Tonight, President Mahama is facing a conflict of interest probe as a citizen. Petitions charged to investigate the takeover of the Diamond mine by engineers and planners, citing concerns over the president's relationship with his brother, Ibrahim Mahama. We speak to the petitioner.
Also, Feed Ghana program delays spark food insecurity fears as Sent Ghana raises alarm over input distribution setbacks.
Most of the districts are yet to receive these inputs, and we are very much concerned that if government doesn't step up efforts or being proactive as far as implementing these intervention is concerned, and this has implication on our production figures for next year.
Coming up in business,
we'll hear more from the governor of the Bank of Ghana in terms of responding to claims that they have actually slowed down on market support, which has led to the current pressure on the Ghana cedi.
Coming up in sports,
former Black Stars forward David Akam backs the team to shine despite tough World Cup group.
And a bit later, the cedi is under pressure again as persistent dollar demand from oil importers and the energy sector has pushed the currency down nearly 12% this year, with almost 10% of that loss coming since tensions with Iran escalated. We hear from experts who are warning the slide may not be over. The latest of these and many other stories are coming up in the next 60 minutes. Feel free to be a part of the show by sending us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. My name is Kenneth Jesse.
My name is Gemma Apia.
Details after this.
Tonight, a private citizen, Emmanuel Senyo Ameklenu, has petitioned the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice Charge to immediately commence a full-scale investigation into the circumstances surrounding the takeover of the diamond mine by engineers and planners. According to him, there are serious conflict of interest concerns surrounding the takeover, given the relationship between President John Mahama and his brother Ibrahim Mahama. My colleague Michael Ashali joins me in studio with more on this petition. Michael, what more is contained in this petition?
Well, first, it says the petition is premised on serious concerns of conflict of interest, abuse of executive influence, and the possible use of public office for private family advantage, contrary to Article 284 of the Constitution. The petitioner says, well, he is informed and verily believes that the takeover process received approval from Cabinet, and therefore it is a matter of public record and constitutional fact that Cabinet is also chaired by President John Dramani Mahama, whose biological brother, Ibrahim Mahama, is alleged to be the beneficiary of the said transaction. The central concern for him arising from these factors, whether the President participated in, influenced, supervised, or in any manner presided over deliberations relating to the transaction from which his close family member directly or indirectly benefited. Further, respectfully, he's also stating that an additional matter of grave public concern has arisen in relation to the continuous use by the President of a private jet reportedly owned, controlled, or made available by his brother Ibrahim Mahama for official and presidential travels since assuming office. It has also been publicly reported that when Vice President was taken ill and required urgent transportation outside the country, it was the same jet owned by Ibrahim Mahama that facilitated the airlifting arrangement through the provision of private aviation support. While humanitarian assistance may not in itself support continue wrongdoing, the continuous provision of private logistical and aviation support to the highest offices of the Republic by an individual who is simultaneously alleged to be benefiting from government-related transactions raises legitimate constitutional and ethical concerns regarding undue influence, preferential access, dependency, reciprocity, and the possible blurring of the distinction between public office and private family interest here. So these are some of the details of this petition that has been sent to Shrad.
Well, what is the petitioning asking Shrad to do?
So the petitioner says that this matter raises substantial public interest concerns because it touches directly on the integrity of executive decision-making, public confidence in government, and also the constitutional obligation imposed on public officers to avoid situations that create actual or apparent conflict between official duties and private family interests. So he's asking the Office of Shraj to, first of all, commence a full-scale investigation into the circumstances surrounding the approval and takeover process of the mine. Again, obtain and review all cabinet memoranda, minutes, recusals, declarations of interest, and related correspondence connected to the transaction, and also investigate the circumstances surrounding the provision and use of the private jet allegedly belonging to Ibrahim Mahama for presidential, vice presidential, and official travels, including whether any public funds, concessions, benefits, or reciprocal arrangements are connected to. And finally, also to determine whether constitutional or ethical breaches occurred. And also, he's asking for recommendations appropriate for maybe a sanction or remedial measures where violations are established, and take any further steps necessary in the public interest and in furtherance of constitutional accountability. Gemma.
Michael Ashale with details of the petition by the private citizen Emmanuel Senyo Ameklenu.
And Emmanuel Senyo is joining us right now, and so is Dr. Steve Mantea. He's a policy analyst and natural resource governance advocate. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time this evening. Let me begin with you, Mr. Senyo. What specifically triggered your decision to petition Shraj over the Daman mine takeover?
Much good evening to you and good evening to your cherished listeners. First of all, let me indicate that this petition is beyond the usual rhetorics or politics that we do here. It is grounded on Article 284 of the 1992 Constitution, which prohibits public officers from placing themselves in situations where personal or family interests conflict with official duties. So it is on that remit that I feel that the issue is not merely in one way or the other an illegality. However, it must also be seen more or less of an appearance of impropriety and also conflict of interest. And on that case, I feel that allegations of, his brother, which is Mr. Ibrahim Mahama, being the beneficiary of the Daman Mine takeover, and cabinet reportedly approving the transaction, it clearly tells you that you cannot distinguish the issue of whether indeed there was some sort of conflict of interest or not. So the only person, the only state institution that can be able to, come to my aid in clarifying this is Shraj. Upon that basis, I felt it is appropriate to write to them to seek for their concern by way.
Emmanuel, so regarding this particular issue, the government spokesperson had an interview with Evans Mensah where he told us that the president recused himself when during the cabinet meeting when the Diamond Mine lease issue came on board. Is that not a good enough reason that the president recused himself and so he was not directly involved in the process leading to ENP winning that bid?
First of all, let's ask ourselves, when did the government spokesperson inform us of the president's recusal from this cabinet meeting? After a month where EMP has taken over?
Does it matter?
It matters. In government structure, when accountability and transparency lead, we must be kept in the known at every point in time. We must not wait. When time is far gone, then you are not keeping the people in the know. What are you trying to do? What are you telling us? This is an afterthought. After a month where fanfare, charades, and all of that are taking place, you are not informing us. Well, we know very well that the man in question who is taking over the mining concession is the brother of the president. So it is only proper that you keep the public.
Mm-hmm. So for you,
hold on.
Let me ask this question. So
okay.
For you, the fact that Ibrahim Mahama is the brother of the president disqualifies him from winning such a bid. Is that what you're saying?
The fact that he remains the brother of the president does not just disqualify him, but the fact that the president continues to use his private jet. The government continues to use his private jet. That alone should tell you that there is something happening, and the president should not allow his brother to take over, because in the how do you call it? In the terms of Shraj, where they outline to you what constitutes conflict of interest, the terms are very, very clear. We have actual conflict of interest, apparent conflict of interest, potential conflict of interest. Do not give yourself for people to talk about. I don't need to tell you that ABC that the president did constitute conflict of interest.
Kindly hold on for me, Mr. Senior. Dr. Steve Manteo is also joining this conversation. Welcome to the program. We've been listening to the petitioner. Does he have a case, you'd say? Hello, Dr. Manteo. Kindly unmute your microphone so we can hear.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, much better.
Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to comment on this matter. It is indeed not for me to determine the merit or otherwise of the matter that has been brought to Shraj. It gladdens my heart all the time when citizens resort to appropriate state institutions to ensure that the right thing is done. So I think what the gentleman has done is in order. Let Shraj review what has happened and determine whether there is any issue of concern in terms of the process. But let me make it clear that the fact that you are in a potential conflict of interest situation does not mean you need to back out of that particular situation, or does not mean that that potential conflict of interest cannot be cured. So potential conflict of interest happens all the time, and there are laid down procedures for curing them. So for instance, if indeed it is documented that in the process of giving approval to the lease transfer to engineers and planners, the president recused himself, then that is a way in which you cure potential conflict of interest.
Dr. Manteo, respectfully, kindly hold on for me. I want you to listen to the government spokesperson, Felix Kwachi Ofosu, make that pronouncement a while ago. Listen.
No, on the contrary, I would even argue that the biggest obstacle to EMP taking the manager president. Indeed, you may want to be informed that when the Lands and Natural Resources Minister brought the matter to cabinet for consideration, first of all, he needed to draw the attention of cabinet to the fact that the lease for the Daman mine was expiring, and that a decision had been taken that it will not be renewed. For that cabinet session that considered that particular matter of the Daman mining lease, the president recused himself. He did not sit in that meeting.
That is government spokesperson Felix Kwachi Ofosu, Dr. Manteo, making that pronouncement. But some are arguing that really whether the president recused himself or not, it doesn't change anything really, because the cabinet members only advise the president. They do not take a decision. The final decision in cabinet is taken by the chair of the cabinet, which is the president. So even if he hadn't recused himself, he has the final say, doesn't he?
He may have a final say, but that final say will be subject to the recommendations of the committee, that's cabinet. So if it's on record that Parliament did not approve, cabinet did not approve of the transaction, and yet the president went ahead to take that decision to award the contract to his brother, then that is an issue. But if the recommendations from the cabinet itself was that the man had won the contract on merit, he only needs to approve it, and I don't think there will be any problem with it. There will be a problem only when there's a disagreement and the president exercises his discretion in awarding or approving the contract.
Senor, let me come to you now. Before we got to Dr. Manteo, you sought to draw in the president's use of the private jet by his brother. What crime or what conflict of interest is in there? The states or the aircrafts that we have, we understand, is not in good condition. The president's brother has an aircraft. He is giving it generously to his brother, who is the president. What problem really are you raising?
Before I even respond to that question, after the playback of what Mr. Ofosu said, and then Mr. Dr. Stephen Manteo also said, if indeed the president recused himself from the said discussion, one critical question I want us to ask is that after the discussion by the members of the committee, who finally approved it? Because the president chairs and approves every discussion that goes on. Who actually approved whatever they discussed? Because he left the discussion room. But at the end of the day, it is incumbent on him to say that I am approving A, B, or not. So we want to know. Let there be a determination that indeed it was discussed behind him, but when he returned, he approved of the discussion. A discussion that you were not part of. Why would you approve of it? These are questions we should be asking. It should not be an afterthought matter. So let's put that on hold. Then I now go on. You said how does the president's use of the private jet constitute conflict of interest? Where we know very well that the country's jet is not in good position or good condition to actually do that. I believe that you do not, or you don't have to give room for people to say that you are actually aligning yourself in the situation of conflict of interest, especially when the issue of potentiality comes in play. Now, the continuous use of the private jet, as allegedly linked to Mr. Ibrahim Mahama, raises additional ethical concerns. Let's be very fair to each other. I keep saying that this is beyond the politics. It is an issue of Article 284 as a public official or as a public officer. What does the article say? The article says that Article 284 says that a public officer shall not put himself in a position where his personal interest conflicts or is likely to conflict with the performance of the functions of his office.
So
in the quest,
so you were expecting that the states spend so much money, thousands of dollars, to hire a private jet for the president to be able to travel outside the country and perform his duties. That's what you were expecting as a private citizen.
I believe strongly that beyond the president going with the brother's private jet, our is there are other prominent private jets that the president could have rented. Why? Is it not the state that is financing it? Now, beyond even the president's brother who is actually using his jet, are you aware that the government is actually the one paying for the fuel and one or two other costs? So what is wrong is the government actually rent a different jet to actually clear the minds of the public that the president is actually conflicted.
Mr. Senyo, what are you expecting from Siraj?
So what I'm expecting from Siraj is that, one, there is the need for a full scale of the investigation that needs to be, constituted to know the circumstances surrounding the whole approval. We want to know in terms of the alleged recusals, the minutes, the memoranda, and all of that. We want to know. Siraj will get all those things, investigate them. And once he do that, we want them to also determine whether indeed there was a constitutional or ethical breaches as far as the takeover is concerned, and recommend appropriate sanctions or remedial measures where violations are established, and take any other steps necessary in the public interest in furtherance of constitutional accountability and transparency. I believe that if this is done and done very well, I will be okay, and then we'll let the matter go.
Emmanuel Senyo, thank you very much. He's a petitioner there. Earlier, we heard from Dr. Steve Mantea, who is a policy analyst and natural resource governance advocate.
The Ghana cedi is being dragged down by persistent foreign currency demand, particularly from oil importers and players within the energy sector. The local currency has depreciated by nearly 12% since the beginning of the year and close to 10% since the escalation of tensions involving Iran. Experts also warn the cedi could weaken further against the dollar. Meanwhile, crude oil prices on the international markets have dropped below the $100 mark as optimism grows over a possible diplomatic breakthrough between the US and Iran, even though tensions in the Middle East remain unresolved. The sharp depreciation is raising fresh concerns over market pricing, import costs, and overall economic stability as corporate demand outstrips central bank supply. Data and research analyst Jason Day joins me in studio with a deep dive into the research details. Jason, break down the research details for us first. What can you tell us on the crude prices on the international market?
Well, Gemma, crude prices are dropping on the international front, reaching its lowest price in 2 weeks since May 7th. This follows after President Trump made some comments of a possible peace deal with Iran. And prices closed last week at $103.54. And today they opened at $100.73 and closed at $97.71 because of the comments from President Trump. It may continue to fall further.
What do we know about the current pressures on our currency, the cedi?
So, Jama, we started the year with 10 cedis and 40 pesos to a dollar, but now it's trading at 11 cedis and 62 pesos to the dollar. Details that we are getting are showing that high oil prices due to the Iran war is also fueling increased dollar demand from oil importers. And with this, it's draining some of the progress we have made with the city. Also, mining sector forex inflows and central bank auction allocations have not been enough offsets. Have not offset what we have right now, what's important demand. So over the last two central bank auctions, bids have exceeded $500 million.
Thank you very much, Jason. Day is a data and research analyst here at Joy News. We are working the line to get Professor Patrick, assuming he is an economist and lecturer with the University of Ghana Business School, to have a conversation about the city with him. Welcome to the news. Now, are current Bank of Ghana interventions enough to stabilize the city, or are we treating the symptoms instead of the real cause of the challenge? Hello, Prof. Kindly unmute for me. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Professor. Assuming I can hear you. Welcome to the news. I asked, are current Bank of Ghana interventions enough to stabilize the city?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to listeners. I think that the Bank of Ghana definitely has more than enough reserves to be able to keep the currency stable. We have to understand that they have adopted a new framework for conducting the interventions in the forex market. And what they are trying to do is to prevent massive swings in the currency, massive depreciation. Even though in the last couple of weeks, we've seen a little bit more depreciation than usual. We have to understand that compared to our historical rate, it's still reasonable limit. So some of the interventions that they are doing is to make sure that you're smoothing the rate of depreciation. So even though people are expressing concerns about the rate of depreciation, I think this falls within what they will consider reasonable in terms of keeping the currency within a small band and not allowing massive depreciation of the currency.
Given the current trend, should we expect further depreciation, or is there room for stabilization in the short term?
I'm not sure exactly what short-term horizon will mean for you, but we have to understand that, you know, the kind of appreciation that we saw last year, those days are gone. Currently, the thinking of the central bank, I believe, at least based on their communication, is that the currency should be kept from moving widely. And over the past 1 year or so, the currency has been moving between 10.5 and 11.5. So I think it's when the currency is threatening to move significantly away from that you are likely to see massive intervention. So what we are seeing now is part of the new strategy of how they are going to do their forex interventions. Even though you have the reserves, they are not going to be just pumping the dollars on the market to keep the currency stand still at one particular rate. No. So allowing the currency to vary within the band that we have, something between 10 and 12, is something we should expect.
What good does it do to the economy if the dollar trades at 10 cedis, 40 pesos, and 11 cedis to the cedi? What good does it do to the economy?
Well, I think at this point the most important thing is to keep the rate of depreciation relatively small. Now, if you are asking that compared to where we were before, that is the 15, 16, well, then where we are, it has its own advantages and disadvantages. Keeping the currency between 10 and the 11, because of where we brought it, I think that initial stage was a disadvantage. But now that we seem to have become used to the 10 to 11 range, I think it just means that businesses can now plan and know that even if you are buying goods and services, the worst case scenario you are going to deal with will be probably 12, and then the best case scenario you are going to deal with will be probably 10. And I think that is keeping that in that range. The predictability is what businesses are looking for. Some may argue that that range is too wide, and I will probably agree with that. If we keep the band narrower, so say we are going to keep it between 11 and 11 and a half, that one is a smaller band, and it's easy for businesses to say that even if there are changes within that small band, any losses to businesses might be minimal. But it looks like this is a new norm that the central bank wants to operate in. So we should be willing to expect that these kind of short-term movements will become part of how the currency will be managed. And it's not something that we should be too concerned about. When it comes to the currency, what we don't really want to happen is that in a 2-week period, the currency loses 15%, 10% of its value. That is what is very devastating for the economy. But if there's a clear communication, as it appears to be the case now, that we are keeping the currency in a short band, it's something that we have to live with.
So for now, we shouldn't worry. Thank you so much. Professor Patrick Sumin is an economist and lecturer with the University of Ghana Business School.
A news just coming in is that the white styrofoam takeaway packs used daily by thousands of Kenyans will soon become a thing of the past, as the Environmental Protection Authority has announced a sweeping nationwide ban on foam products beginning January 2027. Well, the move forms part of government's renewed push against plastic pollution.
Bars and food vendors, again, ceiling and insulation materials made from polyester foam, foam mattresses and bedding materials, again, packaging and cushioning materials, and any other form of polyester foam product intended for human use or consumption-related activities. Note, the EPA says that the prohibition shall, however, exclude EPS products specifically intended for medical, scientific, laboratory, and diagnostic purposes, subject to applicable regulator. This policy directive forms part of national efforts to protect public health, improve environmental sanitation, reduce plastic pollution. But Kenneth, does not take an immediate effect. At least all those who are highly dependent or are currently producing it have until 1st of January 2027 to enforce this particular ban. So you can use them until the first day of next year, 2027, Kenneth.
Michael Ashale, thank you very much. Professor Nana Brown-Kluche is the CEO of the Environmental Protection Authority. She's joining me right now for a conversation on the back of this. Welcome to the program. Some will argue, why now?
Thank you very much. I think it's a conversation that is long overdue. So last year, on the World Environment Day, the President announced the ban. And as a regulatory institution, we took our time to work on the implementation plan to roll out the plan. So we have come to a point where we are ready to roll it out. But we also understand that stakeholders need time to put together the alternatives to this packaging and the use of these styrofoam products. So we have given up to 1st of January to have it completely off the market, off our homes in the country. So that is what has brought this conversation today. That is Ghana. We needed to take our time to go through the process of the ban.
And do you think you've had enough time to effectively ban it from the 1st of January?
Yes. We needed to convince ourselves on the roadmap, which we have put together comprehensively. Now, between now and January 1, we're going to engage stakeholders. We also have a schedule for stakeholder engagement, food vendors, and all these categories of stakeholders and the general consumers of Ghana. And so we believe that from now, until then, once the issue is out, once the release is out, we believe that Ghanaians will comply, companies will comply, even foreign companies that are also involved in the sale, the production, and importation of the styrofoam will comply to this directive.
One of the major reasons why this ban is coming into effect is its health implications on consumers, correct?
Yes, so research has shown that the styrofoam, when exposed to extreme heat, can leach substances like styrene, which is a cancer agent, or it's carcinogenic. It's also inflammable, highly inflammable substance. So it's not biodegradable for the environment. So whilst we talk about the health of humans, we also talk about the health of environment when it comes to styrofoam.
Then why wait until the 1st of January, and why not do it now?
So the release is now because this is a human institution. We are dealing with people, we are dealing with stakeholders. And we thought that if some get importation, by this time they've already sent out requests for the importation. They will come into the system. But if you know that by 1st of January, you can no longer make use of such products, you will not import over a certain period until that time. So we thought we should give importation time, production time, and consumers also time to ban this completely.
Professor Brown Kluche, thank you very much. She's the CEO of the Environmental Protection Authority. Let's do business. George is here with the latest.
Hi, Kenneth. And Communal Bank of Ghana denies slowing down dollar support for market, a move some analysts believe has contributed to the current sustained depreciation of the local currency. And MTN announces charge on mobile money transfers to bank accounts effective June 1, 2026. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for office essentials. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Hello? Charlie, I'm at the library. Why do you keep calling me?
Wait, question. What's the capital of Burkina Faso?
Ouagadougou. Bye.
Wait. Which planet is the hottest in the solar system?
Venus. Charlie, why all these questions?
See, I'm playing the MTN Swipe and Win promo. I might cash out some cool 1,000 Ghana cedis today.
1,000 cedis? Shh. Charlie, what's the next question?
Join the MTN Swipe and Win promo today. Answer trivia, earn points, and stand a chance to win 1,000 Ghana cedis every day. Weekly cash of 1,000, 2,000, or 3,000 Ghana cedis. A brand new Hyundai Texan in the first 3 months, and the ultimate grand prize of 500,000 Ghana cedis. Recharge your account to qualify for the daily draws. To join, visit swipeandwinpromo.mtn.com.gh. Download the My MTN app or dial *5030#. This promo is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas Lottery platform. TNCs apply.
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office,
Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Temania Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop,
Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, CEOs. Ghana's foremost business platform marks 10 years of leadership impact. Join the 10th Ghana CEO Summit and Expo on Thursday, 28th May 2026 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Kempinski Hotel Accra. The summit is themed Accelerating Ghana's Economic Transformation, Driving Bold Reforms Through Leadership, Technology, and Industrialization. Tagline, From Vision to Action. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, will attend as special guest of honor and officially launch the CEO Government Compact 2026. Highlights include presidential CEO dialogue, masterclasses, panels, brand expo, CEO profiles, networking. Registered now at GhanaCEOSummit.com. Call 054-639-1970 or email info@GhanaCEOSummit.com. Powered by CEO Network Ghana in partnership with Deloitte, PwC, EY, GIPC, University of Ghana, Media General, and the Multimedia Group. The 10th Ghana CEO Summit and Expo, a decade of leadership impact. T&C supply.
Cast your mind back to 2022. The prices were rising. The stress was high. Every liter of fuel felt like a sacrifice. Do you remember who stepped forward first? When others were comfortable with high prices, Star Oil chose you. We cut our own profits so you could keep your AC on, keep your engines running, and keep your life moving without the heavy burden. We gave you room to breathe when things felt tight. Because of you, our star savers, we became number one. Today, the pumps are a battleground. Others are finally cutting prices because they have to. But Star Oil, we do it because we want to. Don't just chase a price, remember a friendship. We were there for you then, and with new innovations coming your way, we are here for you now. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
If you want quality, this be where you belong. Hey, tough, hey, strong. Oh, gonna shout and sing the song. When the sun they hot, syntax no break when the rain they fall. Still no shake. Builders they choose and plumbers they prove. Any project you they start.
Sasso, sasso, se come tonton prepon. Sasso, sasso, se come tonton prepon. Edrana drumming ya buseshe. Yeah, how can see any malaria? Minya me kone me sasso spray. Every mosquito start to run away. Come on, tonton prepon. Sasso, sasso, mi se come tonton preko. Come tonton preko. Sasso, come tonton preko. Nani shamne die e demo stronko.
This advert is FDA approved.
You welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the Bank of Ghana has denied cutting down on dollar support for the market. The local currency is said to have depreciated by some more than 10% based on commercial banks' rate. This has resulted in Reuters Africa rating the cedi as the worst performing currency in Africa. But speaking at the Monetary Policy Committee press conference, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, argues that they've always been active on the market.
We understand very well why the pressure is there right now. We are in the market, on a weekly basis. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, we are in the market. Our auction is still there. We've announced it, pre-announced it. The banks are aware. We continue doing what we are doing. But for now, that is what we have. Remember, we have the buffers, and it's an auction. We pre-announce how much each month we will make available to the market. And for this month, I guess we made available about $1 billion. We are on track with that. We have not reduced our presence at all. The banks are aware of it, and there shouldn't be too much panic about that.
And that is Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Esiama. Now, MTN has announced that from June 1, 2026, all mobile money transfers to bank accounts will attract 0.75% fee per transaction. This, according to telecoms giant, will be capped at 5 Ghana cedis. The mobile operator, in a text to subscribers this evening, noted that this is to help them to continue to serve their customers better. To other stories, IMF is said to move Ghana from a high risk of debt distress in July this year. Now, this will happen when it presents its 6th program review report to the board for scrutiny. The country is currently classified as high risk of debt distress despite the significant progress made in reducing its debt numbers. Meanwhile, the Ghana's debt is said to has reached sustainable levels even before the 2028 deadline set by the IMF. Dr. Ruben Atoyam is the IMF mission chief for Ghana.
We expected that the program will bring Ghana to moderate risk of the distress already by 2028. We reached this level already last year, when in 2025 we saw that the mechanical signals coming out of our debt sustainability analysis were producing moderate risk of debt distress rating. IMF, being IMF, always cautious and prudent, we applied judgment to keep Ghana at high risk of debt distress rating, but this is the final review of ECF, and we're quite hopeful that with the completion of the review we'll be able to upgrade Ghana.
And will we see the fund very soon review it? Because and I remember I had an interaction with the country representative, and he tried to explain to me how soon would the fund make the necessary recommendation to the board to take a second look at our classification when it comes to the DSI assessment of country Ghana.
All of that will be happening around July 27th.
And that is the IMF mission chief for Ghana, Dr. Ruben Atoyam, explaining that they are set to move Ghana from high risk of debt distress to moderate in July this year. Let's still stay on the fund issue because businesses have indicated that they see the technical assistance instrument from the IMF as very important to currently being stabilized to help improve the business environment. It is coming after government announced that it has formally requested for that policy coordinating instrument to help sustain recent gains. Greater Accra Regional President of the Ghana Association of Industry, Chino Makwalu, tells Joy Business the move should be seen as good for businesses, especially in these times.
For us, we are keen to see the specific measures government is going to put in place to ensure that, number one, the stability is sustained over the period of time to allow business people to still continue to invest in the economy and expand the economy. And also, we're interested in seeing government measures taken to, for example, promulgate policies like increasing local production and ensuring that measures are taken to increase productivity. Because all of this will come to nothing if we are unable to increase our productivity within the Ghanaian economy.
And that is the Greater Accra Regional President of the Association of Ghana Industry, Chino Makwalu, describing government's request for the IMF policy, that is the coordinating instrument, as good for the business environment. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
Thank you, George. Let's do sports.
And in sports, former Black Stars forward, that's David Akam, backs the team to shine despite tough World Cup group. Now, the Black Stars have been faced criticism for being too individualistic instead of functioning as a cohesive unit. Now, ahead of the World Cup, where Ghana has been drawn in a difficult group alongside England, Croatia, and Panama, Akam believes the team can stand a strong chance if their chemistry and teamwork are improved.
It's difficult, especially the group we are in. For us, we just need to pray for them because we can't make the decisions, we can't play for them, we can't make the selection. So for us, we will support them and I pray and hope that they give everything they have and They do well for the country, for themselves, and for their families. Every time I've watched them, it's difficult to see them playing as a team, and it's difficult to see their principles or their tactics that they want to play. It's mostly we have like players that pop up and do something. So at the moment we have a new technical team. Hopefully they will solve the problems that we had before, and they will bring cohesion to the team, and they can play well and win games.
So that's former Black Stars player there, David Akam. And Kenneth,
yeah,
did you see the celebrations of the Arsenal fans over the weekend?
I didn't.
Oh. I like that.
I said I didn't.
I saw a video where they went to church wearing the Arsenal jerseys, having parties.
I
And,
see.
George has left.
I haven't seen some.
Maybe
Maybe you can
why
show
he
some
wasn't
to
in
me.
his Arsenal jalabia or his Arsenal suit or something. But that's for another day.
You know, strange things are happening in sports this year. Arsenal won the league. Ronaldo won a trophy with Al Nassr. And then the final game of the Ghana Premier League, someone scored 6 goals.
Yeah, 6 goals. But there's no video to show that. That's for another day. So that's it for sports, Kenneth.
Thank you very much.
Send Ghana is raising alarm over delays in the distribution of agricultural inputs under the government's Feed Ghana program, warning that the situation could disrupt this year's planting season and threaten food security. The policy and advocacy organization says with the rains already setting in across parts of the country, many farmers are yet to receive essential inputs such as seeds, fertilizers and other farming supplies promised under the program. Speaking to Joy News, the Deputy Country Director for Send Ghana, Alhaji Mumuni Mohammed, said the country is at risk of low production if government does not step up with implementation.
It is becoming clear that the process of implementation has delayed, given that this is an intervention that is time-bound, or some activities, or most of the activities within the intervention is time-bound. So, for instance, if you talk about the issue of inputs, giving fertilizer, seed, this is time-bound. As we speak, both in the north and south, the season is fast approaching. The rainy season is almost setting in the north. I know in the south it's been on for some time now, but our checks on the ground reveals both with farmers but also the Department of Agric that most of the districts are yet to receive these inputs. And we are very much concerned that if government doesn't step up efforts or being proactive as far as implementing these intervention is concerned, yes, we are aware that the fertilizer would come, but it might come at a time that is no longer needed. It's likely to be distributed to farmers who might not use it for the cropping season, and this has implication on our production figures for next year. That is, even if we do proper targeting to make sure that farmers would be the ones to receive this.
He also called on government to improve communication with farmers as to improve targeting, as many district directors of Agric has little to no knowledge about the policy implementation.
The weak flow of information regarding the implementation. I tell you, in the program document, it is said that the backbone is going to be the Department of Agriculture. If you go to the districts and you ask the directors of Agric, they have very limited information in terms of where they are or the status of implementation. And that for us is quite worrying. We were told by government that implementing the Feed Ghana program was going to be through the farmer service centers. And they had a target to set up a number of them. That is still not been finished. And so government is using a stopgap measure to implement through MMDAs. And our checks for the Department of Agri clearly shows that the Agri department is not really directly involved in this. This is more championed by MMDCs and MPs. And we are very much concerned because the Agri department is the ones dealing with farmers, either as cooperatives or individual farmers. And so if we are not careful, targeting is going to be an issue, and the possibility of politicization, which has been the issue with most of our interventions, is very high.
The National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, NIMAS, has been deployed to the Oda Forest Reserve in response to growing pressure on government to clamp down on illegal mining and logging activities destroying large sections of the forest reserve. Recent checks by Joy News revealed extensive destruction within the reserve, including deep excavated pits, felled trees and polluted water bodies believed to have been caused by illegal miners and encroachers. Traditional leaders in the Bekwai area say the situation is becoming alarming and are calling for immediate action to safeguard the ecological zone and surrounding communities. Here's Nana Bwampim Peko, the second Trafohene of the Bekwai traditional area, who has been speaking on the destruction within the reserve.
Na mesre forest pani nasa minister for lands and forestry said den komato epumu bosumbienu no ontunto forest mbe mfie na amaye na mwana aka kakra no omuntun wo mai isi awo ha sabi kusi ekura wo nhia bi anu wa hia krante ana so hia pese te mesre forest mpanifo tumedi amudi o man kwachiri na nka matumi a Ghana forest nyina mfata bono so bia nkom nkofa nwa ontwa homanya hwebe mfie be enum na kwaye no ntunye de enyina mai na galam se no so ana mo mkrata abemu ndi sankrata asem no esre mo munyimfiri ho ye de ehu so bia wuro ma ye ba be bo mamane
We plead with authorities to lock down the forest for us. This is an old-aged forest which has really helped the community and Ghana at large. People are invading it with illegal mining activities. They get the license from the authorities. We plead with the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to help us curb illegal mining in this forest.
That's the Trafohene of the Bekwai traditional area. Nana Boachi Yadom is my colleague there monitoring events for us. He's joining me right now with some updates. Nana, what is the current situation at the Oda Forest Reserve?
Well, Kenneth, the situation remains the same. Our last check from the forest indicates that there hasn't been any intervention so far from the Ministry of Lands. And so the reports that we have earlier through our checks, which indicates that there's been high invasion of the Oda Forest Reserve through illegal mining and illegal logging activities, still remains, with residents raising concerns about the situation affecting their daily lives and their unavailability to have access to some necessities due to this.
Nana Boachi Yadom there. Thank you very much.
Now, Ghana's new e-visa portal has officially gone live, marking a major shift in the country's travel and immigration system. Applicants from across the world can now complete visa applications for Ghana entirely online without having to visit Ghanaian embassies or consulates physically. For African travelers, the visas will be issued free of charge as part of government's effort to promote regional integration and ease movement across the continent. Speaking at the launch at the Kempinski Hotel, President Mahama said while some countries are expelling fellow Africans and making them feel unwelcome, Ghana proudly welcomes them and affirms this is their home.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, effective today, from this moment, all holders of African passports traveling to Ghana for business or tourism will apply for visas exclusively via the new online e-visa platform, and they will pay no visa fee. And so, for emphasis, all African passport holders will not be required to pay visa fees when they apply online. Previous visa on arrival arrangement for African passports, which I initiated in my previous term as president, is hereby discontinued and replaced by this more secure and efficient electronic visa regime. For African countries with which Ghana has visa waiver agreements, citizens of those countries will continue to travel freely to Ghana without applying for visas. For Caribbean and other nations with which Ghana has visa waiver agreements, they also will continue to enter Ghana freely without applying for visas. Applicants will continue to undergo all the necessary vetting and due diligence. The financial barrier for African travel has been removed. What remains firmly intact is our commitment to security, order, and effective border management. By introducing the continent-wide free visa access via an electronic platform, Ghana joins countries such as Rwanda, Kenya, Benin, Seychelles, the Gambia, and Togo in demonstrating that openness and security can coexist. We also send a message that welcoming fellow Africans does not undermine your sovereignty. Rather, it strengthens African unity, it strengthens economic cooperation and shared progress. I therefore urge the remaining African Union members, including some of the continent's largest economies, to act with great urgency to implement the Free Movement Protocol. The African Continental Free Trade Area is operational, and the second 10-year implementational plan of Agenda 2063 is already underway. The architecture for integration already exists. What is required now is the political courage and the political will to implement it. Ghana's doors are open, and we encourage others to open their doors as well. While some countries are expelling fellow Africans and making them feel unwelcome, Ghana proudly welcomes them and affirms that this is your home.
That there was President John Mahama, and that brings us to the end of Newsnight. My name is Kenneth. Jesse.
My name is Gemma Apia.
Don't forget to do the 2, brush your teeth day and night.